Y'all, the word that jumped out at me this week as I was reading the gospel over and over and over again was proximity. Proximity. Let me get there. So Jesus is hanging out with sinners this week. What else is new, right? That's like all we hear about in the Gospels. Jesus hanging out with sinners and breaking rules and making everybody nervous. And it's cool because here we see that when they're breaking bread together and supping and hanging out at just a regular dinner, it seems that he doesn't get the sin on him, right? It's not contagious or anything. He's hanging out with them and it's fine. It's not a big deal. And then we get not the inverse, not the opposite, but something near this, where Jesus goes out and his healing does get on everybody. His healing is contagious in the best way possible. We hear that on his way to go presumably raise this little girl up who everybody thought was dead. I mean, everybody was sure of this. He raises her up. But even on his way, almost as an accident, he runs across this woman and all he does is walk by her. Walk by her, and she reaches out and touches his cloak, and she is healed. He just has to walk, and his healing can get on everything. It can infect everyone in the best way possible. And what we learn in this is that good is transferable. Good is contagious. And that Jesus happens to be immune, if you will, to negative influences, to the sin getting on him. But my friends, we are not Jesus. We are not Jesus. For us, the good and the bad is transferable. And I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad, okay? That's not the goal of this. We're just trying to be realistic here, okay? And acknowledge the reality of our lives. We tell our kids, be careful who you're hanging out with. You want your kids hanging out with the right people. People aren't going to be a bad influence, okay? We try to be aware of the media we're consuming, of the TV that you're watching, or the movies, or the books that you're reading. I have to catch myself when I watch too much Survivor, that like, hey, lying and cheating is only okay in the game of Survivor. And that sounds crazy because of course we know that, of course I know that, but the more you get hooked into something, the more you spend time around something, the more it becomes normal. And we, unlike Jesus, are susceptible, are influenced by various things. Peer pressure, whether it is intentional or not, is very, very real. And that's why church is so important. Yay, church! Because in church, in community, it's easier to stay on the right track, isn't it? It's easier to come in here and know because we can make a general assumption, a general generous assumption, that everyone's really just trying to be good, right? We're all kind of shooting for the same thing. Like we're trying to be good people, make the world a better place, or at least not a worse place. Now, I want to be clear, it is not impossible to be a good person outside of church. There are lots and lots and lots of very, very good people who are good and have not ever once set foot in a church. And that's great. But I know for me, it's a lot harder when I don't have church. It is a lot harder for me because I have to do extra discerning. I have to do extra questioning. I have to do this extra figuring stuff out. Like, what's your goal? What are you trying to do? I have to do that when I walk in here because we are all, and again, I'm making a general assumption, we're all actively working to make the world a better place. All of us, in some way or another, are attempting to improve ourselves. At the very least, you are here because you know that someone else wants you to be here. And that is honoring a relationship that you have, so kudos. If that's the only reason you're here, I'm glad for it. You've done a good thing today. We can assume that if you're in this building right now or watching online, that you're trying to care for those who society typically doesn't care about. I can know that there are people in this room who are standing up for injustice. And I know that all of us are just trying to love. Love with as much of our hearts, with all of our hearts, whenever we can. And you might be thinking, well, yes, thank you, Mary Margaret. We know about church. We are here today. You get it. I am very literally preaching to the choir. Y'all understand that church is helpful, and so it seems a little bit silly that I would waste a sermon telling you that church is helpful. And I believe on our best days that it is, that we are living into all of these things. And church isn't like that for everybody. Church isn't always good. Every human institution, every human system has its flaws. And church has hurt a lot of people. We have hurt a lot of people. For many folks, church is exactly what the Pharisees were afraid of. They were afraid at this dinner that Jesus was hanging out with sinners and tax collectors. Other people have experienced church as that, as a negative influence, telling them to do things that hurt the world rather than help repair it. Church has made people feel excluded, like they don't belong. And sometimes worse, church has made people feel like they are included, but other people are out. They are part of the elite club, and other people just didn't make the cut. Church has given them a sense, preached and taught really harmful things. People who wear the same thing that I do. And sometimes I know I have hurt people. We have preached and taught and only focused on how wretched we are as humans, just how messed up everything is. But we here, I promise I'm going to get us out of this. I'm going to get us out of this, okay? But we have a responsibility. Church can be joyful and wonderful, and we all know that because we're here. And we have a responsibility to be the healers that Jesus teaches us to be in this gospel today. We have a job to do, to be the kind of people who are good influences, who you want your kids to hang out with, who the Pharisees would think like, nah, they're okay. You can have dinner with them. And the reason we get there, and get there honestly and with feeling and passion, is to acknowledge that we are indeed a part of a system that has hurt. A couple of weeks ago, my husband came home. This is just a little tidbit about our lives. He drinks a lot of Monster energy drinks. They're not delicious, but he worked in restaurants for a long time, was up at crazy hours, and caffeine doesn't work for him anymore, so he has to go to like the chemicals that are really destroying his body anyway. So he knows how I feel about this. He's at a 7-Eleven getting a Monster energy drink, and he's in his collar. He's wearing his collar, he's in a suit. He looks like a priest. He's like a very identifiable, like that guy goes to church. And someone, a gentleman who we have seen like at the grocery store, who, out and about, lives in our neighborhood, came up and started screaming at him. Just lost it on Sam. Started yelling at him how awful the church is, how terrible it's been, how he's an instrument of the devil, all of this stuff. And Sam said, I'm so sorry you feel that way. And he paid for his Monster Energy drink, and he left. And he came home, and we were talking about it, and reflecting that this guy was very clearly hurt, had very clearly been damaged by a message, by a person, by a community. And that him yelling at Sam didn't really have anything to do with Sam at all. Now, this doesn't happen as much to me because most of the time people don't know what to make of a lady in a collar. Mostly they're like, that's a weird fashion choice. What's going on here? I don't get it. So it's not never, but it is less for me, and so I rely on a lot of my male colleagues to sort of report this back to me, that so often they can feel or hear when people are really damaged and hurt, and they do their best to listen, because this is part of the job. It's part of our job, is to listen and to meet people exactly where they are, even if they don't want us there. People dressed like me, with the same job as me, have really and truly hurt others in the name of God. And I have to square with that fact that I am part of a system that has done damage. It's not about me. I hope I haven't, and I pray I haven't. They're not mad because I hurt them. This guy wasn't mad because Sam hurt him. But we are buying into a system that has. And I have to own that. We have to own that. Because this is our chance to be the healer. That is our moment when we get to say, yes, I am sorry, and we will do better. Now, you don't always get to say that to someone who's yelling at you. Sometimes you just have to walk away. But my friends, in the grand scheme of things, we as people who come to church have an opportunity to do it really well. To share the love of God and the love of God, not destructive power that is masquerading as the love of God, but the true, all-encompassing, boundless love of the Lord. We get to come here and do that. This is an opportunity for us to reclaim what it means to be a Christian, to reclaim what it means to go to church. And all we have to do is love. All we have to do is treat other people with dignity and respect. And again, I'm preaching to the choir. Y'all know how to do that. Y'all do that, and it's amazing. And even if you don't see the effect you have on people, I know and guarantee that it is good. When we come to church every week and we wish that more people were here, that the pews were full, we have to remember that we are part of a system that has in the past and even still has welcomed people at their most vulnerable, at their lowest points, and then not loved them. It's not about you not loving in the past, but we can understand, we can have empathy, and we can love people now. We can choose love now. Part of our job when we come to church isn't just to make ourselves better. It is to acknowledge the fact that this church has messed up, and to not let it hold us back from being healers, not let it define us, but rather inform us. Church matters because this is where we build beautiful community and family. This is where we come to keep us on track. I'd be a mess if I didn't have church every week, y'all. Church keeps get closer to God and each other, but how we can help other people do that too. How we can spread the love and healing the way that Jesus did. I want you to imagine that you've got fistfuls of glitter. And if you've ever worked with glitter, you know that stuff gets everywhere. And it never goes away. You're finding glitter like years later in places you never thought ever saw the light of day, and there's a piece of glitter. You've got glitter. When you come to church, grab 2 fistfuls of it and spread it as you go out into the world. Spread your magic, spread your love. That glitter, people may think, gosh darn it, someone got glitter over there. But you know, glitter always makes you chuckle. It always makes you think of a child's art project. It always helps you remember that one time your kid or grandkid spilled glitter everywhere, and it makes you smile. Spread your glitter, your love that you pick up here at St. John's Episcopal Church every single week, and go share it. We got tons of it in the back. We have so much of it. Come grab some and spread it the way that Jesus, just walking along, spread his healing power. When we think of church in this way, not just how it can repair us, but how we can repair it, our world busts wide open. The possibilities for love and healing and growth and renewal are endless. And the love of God ends up not with boundaries around who is in and who is out, but boundless in its beautiful, glittery expanse. Amen.